what I wanted to say was that the point of putting up the evidence on the movements is not to disprove any diagnosis, not to use it to challenge the clinical findings of a treating doctor. But it is important because what it does is it bears directly on Mr. Carrim's demonstrated ability, his day-to-day functioning capacity. That's what the movements go to. And it also goes to something else, which is, and I'll come to it later, that it's about the reliability and completeness of the information that was before the treating doctor at the time when he deposed to the affidavits that we now have in this application. So that's the relevance of the movements.
Are you saying, because the issue as I understand now is about flighting or not flighting?
That's right. So,
are you saying you require flighting for purposes of what you've just explained?
No, Chair, it was just a preliminary point to explain why we go here at all, that it's not simply for the purpose of showing that Mr. Carrim was in fact in Durbanville on the 14th of July. It's not merely for that fact. It's more than that. But I can continue to make my submissions to the second point that I'm raising about day-to-day functioning without flighting the footage. I will make that.
That's exactly how I understand it. I do not see what stands in your way to make those submissions without flighting. I simply do not understand. But as you say, you've just said now, you are able to make those submissions. So
I'm perfectly...
Yes.
I don't need to rely on the footage in order to make those submissions.
Yeah.
And
because there's the admission by Mr. Carrim through the deponent, his wife, that he was indeed in Durbanville and at this particular shopping center, that he went to Woolworths and this other place. I can't pronounce that name starting with a K. With many vowels in it.
Kauai. So I'm going to talk about that evidence, but I don't need to flight the actual CCTV.
Thank you. So that takes care of Mr. Prem's one of Mr. Prem's 2 points.
I think both, because we also have no objection to the redactions.
All right, thank you. There was, what was the third thing?
Geolocations.
Oh yeah, there was the issue about the geolocations.
Oh yes. I think in the context of the sensitivity of what we're dealing with, and perhaps, Chair, I should just refer to the ruling that you made yesterday, because that's the constraints that are governing my ability to make submissions to you candidly. So the ruling, Chair, would you indulge me reading out paragraph 2?
Please.
Because then it might help the public also understand why we're talking in this coded way. So paragraph 2.1 says the legal representatives of Mr. Carrim and the evidence leaders may not, during the hearing of the postponement application, mention Mr. Carrim's medical condition, the nature of the treatment he is receiving, the identity and nature of practice of the health professionals attending to Mr. Carrim in respect of the medical condition, and the medical facility where he is admitted. 2.2, publication or dissemination in any format of the information referred to in paragraph 2.1 is prohibited. 2.3, the legal representatives of Mr. Carrim and the evidence leaders may not, during the hearing of the postponement application, mention the names and residential and business addresses of Mr. Carrim's family members. That's the relevant part of the ruling. So, Chair, I am not going to flight the geolocation spreadsheets. They are in our papers. Everyone on Mr. Carrim's legal team side has seen it, the commissions have it. I don't think it's necessary to do that. I think if we were to do that, we would run into trouble. It's not possible to redact every single entry, and some entries are relevant to where perhaps Mr. Carrim's family members are. So we won't flight that either. So, Chair, and then consistent with this ruling, what I propose to do is, and I'm going to try to stick to a script a little bit, because when we are in open debate, then mistakes happen. With your approval, I intend to refer to the two doctors as Dr. Initial and Dr. Initial, to distinguish between the two. Would that be acceptable to the chair?
Why not use the first doctor and second doctor?
Okay. Okay.
And you can simply say, for example, the first doctor being the one with the substantial reports that we have in front of us. And
Okay.
I'm not even sure who the second doctor is.
Could I say our doctor, our expert, and their doctor?
Good.
Something like that. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So I'll proceed in that fashion then. I think the next and the point, and it was the first point that was raised, substantive point that was raised by a learned friend, was that somehow we're not really opposing the evidence leaders, the postponement application, but and that we've conceded something. I mean, I'm not sure how that arises. The heart of our opposition as the evidence leaders is that the Commission should not grant a postponement without requiring an independent medical examination. That is the heart of the opposition by the evidence leaders to a postponement. And the reason for that is because we've had a history of postponements where the length of time that we are told that Mr. Carrim will be incapacitated has varied and grown each time. So in the beginning it was a few weeks, then it was 8 to 12 weeks, then it was 6 months in the latest round of affidavits. So it's very important to the evidence leaders that we have a fixed date for the postponement, number one, and number two, that postponement is conditioned on an independent medical examination. I'd remind the commissioners that this is the 5th postponement that Mr. Carrim seeks, and we've set out the history of the delay at paragraphs 7 to 24 of our written submissions. I'm just going to turn to those submissions. I don't need to go through the details. All I'll point out is that what one sees when one looks through the history of that correspondence and the postponements and the delays is that Mr. Carrim's attorneys seem to believe that a postponement is available for the asking. One example of that is at page 67 of the correspondence bundle. If we could just look at page 67 of the correspondence bundle. And if you look at paragraph 9, This is a letter that was dated 13 May 2026 from Mr. Carrim's attorneys. If you look at paragraph 9, it was again in an attempt to get a postponement of the next hearing. And all we are told in paragraph 9 is we confirm that we have now received the further medical report. This report is highly personal. Suffice to state that our client has been laid off for at least 8 to 12 weeks, and that was all. No medical certificate or report or note or anything accompanied this. It required requests from the attorneys for the Commission to obtain the necessary medical report to underpin the postponement request that was made. So that's the history that we're dealing with here, which is why the evidence leaders feel so strongly that getting finality and a specific date is so critical. We then come to the latest. I'd rather go to the most recent history on the postponements. The last postponement was to 15 July. Up until that point, all of the postponements were granted, were permitted, on the understanding by the Commission and the evidence leaders that Mr. Carrim was hospitalized and that his movement was restricted. That's what we were led to believe. It was only when there were the two whistleblower reports on the 14th of July that the issue of Mr. Carrim's movements were put into question. The evidence leaders then obtained the CCTV footage to corroborate what we'd been told by the evidence, by the whistleblowers. Mr. Carrim was then afforded the opportunity to bring a substantive application for the postponement. And in that application, an opportunity was provided to address the latest information regarding Mr. Carrim's movements around the Cape. And this is addressed in two affidavits. The one, as we've already been talking about, is by his second wife, and the second affidavit is by his doctor. What we were told in those affidavits is important. Their accounts, and I'm not going to go into the detail, it's summarized at paragraphs 39 to 44 of Ms. Berger's answering affidavit. What we saw there was a particular picture that was painted by the two deponents, and particularly by Mr. Carrim's doctor. That picture was one of restrictions on Mr. Carrim's movements and interactions. We were informed that any leave from the hospital would be authorized for specific purposes, that there were passes that were subject to strict conditions, including searches, etc., including on the return of the 14 July excursion, which was said to have been a 4-hour chaperoned excursion that took place between 1:30 in the afternoon and 5 p.m. in the afternoon. That was the account that was provided by their doctor. It was supported by Mr. Carrim's wife. Now, it's important, commissioners, to go to those affidavits. So let's look first at what Mr. Carrim's wife says, and that's at paragraph 60 of the founding affidavit. If I could ask the commissioners to read paragraph 60 and its subparagraphs, where the 14 July incident is explained. I'd like to place emphasis on 60.2, where it says, we departed the facility at 1:30. Then 60.3, and the description of the Kauai engagement. 60.4, and 60.6, specifically where it says we returned to the facility by approximately 5. And then there was a consultation that they both, I've emphasized the word we in 60.6, attended. In paragraph 73 of the same affidavit, the deponent summarizes all travel since 13 April 2026. And I draw your attention to paragraph 74, where the deponent says, my husband undertook no other travel during this period and did not travel to Mahikeng or any other location in the Northwest. There's a second affidavit which I'm going to come to, in which this is a different picture is painted. And what the deponent says later is that that trip to the Northwest took place during the week when Mr. Carrim is with his first wife. And so, says the deponent, she did not know about the trip, and that's why she didn't say anything about it. What my submission on that is that that's implausible when we have regard to her own evidence that she communicates regularly with the first wife, and you'll see that at paragraph 15 of this affidavit, of the founding affidavit.
But what about the fact that she says this was the first wife's week, and that she might have missed this visit to Mafikeng or Mahikeng because of that fact?
Yes. I'm saying it's not plausible because they communicate regularly. She explains in paragraph 15 that they communicate, she and the first wife, including about...
Does that mean every and anything?
No.
Of necessity?
No, Chair. So let me then go to paragraph 15. It's because what they communicate about is Mr. Karim's well-being.
Yes, yes.
And his health.
Yes.
And updates on...
But as I understand it, it was Mr. Carrim who wanted to go there to see. Yes. Was it his daughter? I think to see.
Yes. I have no objection.
His daughter.
Yes.
Now, so it wasn't as if I'll be with our husband in Mahikeng, but I'm concerned about his health, because the travel might do this and that to him, in which event the first wife might have had to tell the second wife. Now, this is just a visit to the daughter, which was quite important to Mr. Carrim, because as I understood it, he had not seen her for...
Chair, we don't even need to get into that. We don't take issue with his wanting to visit.
But my point is, with nothing that has been suggested about his health and him going there, I do not see why it would have been necessary for the first wife to tell the second wife about the Mahikeng
for this
visit.
reason. for this reason, Chair, because there was a medical incident.
Sorry?
There was a medical incident.
By the way, which resulted in his...
In the second wife, accompanying
in
Mr.
his
Carrim.
return. In his
Correct.
return. Okay.
Correct.
No, I get it. I'd forgotten about the sudden need for him to return. Yeah.
That's right. And it was the deponent who took Mr. Carrim to the doctor and accompanied him and was with him during the consultation. And so that's why I say.
So your point is it's unlikely that the second wife would have forgotten about this incident.
It was specific.
Yes.
I'll tell you why.
Yes.
Because it wasn't a broad question, tell us about the movements. It was a specific question was asked about movements to the northwest, because that was something that became contentious.
No, I get the point.
Then we have the doctor's version on the 14th July in his first affidavit. And we'll find that at paragraph 45, and I think it's page 43. 43, thank you. So in paragraph 45 is where the description of the 14th July incident is. And what's important here is the confirmation that it was 4 hours, that it was for the purpose of purchasing toiletries, over-the-counter flu medication. In 46, the doctor says, in terms, the facility's records reflect that he departed at approximately 1:30 and returned at approximately 5. He goes on to say he doesn't know anything further about the precise movements during the 4-hour period for which it was authorized. And then says, but in any event, these kind of excursions are not unusual. I'd also like to take the Commission to paragraph 39 of the affidavit of the doctor, because, and that's at page 41. Here too, the doctor says, in terms, I deal next with the facility's leave regime, because I understand that an impression may exist that the facility is a place a patient may enter and leave at will. That impression would be false. And then he explains there's only 1 or 2 ways that a person could leave on the pass of the treating doctor. Or the only other way is if the person discharges himself. What happened next was that the evidence leaders obtained geolocation data. That's the data of Mr. Carrim's cell phone that tracks the movements of the phone. We know from the first from the first deponent that Mr. Carrim keeps his phone with him. We presented that information to Mr. Carrim's legal representatives on the 17th of July. That then prompted 2 further affidavits. So, if I can just go to the first, it's the supporting founding affidavit. Sorry, it's not supporting, it's a supplementary founding. What we see now, what page is it on? It's page 58.
That's where it starts. You want to take us to which?
To the paragraph. I'll do that, Chair.
Oh, all right.
Just trying to find my own reference. Right, I've got it. It starts at paragraph 27. Page 67. And that's where the account is amended. It's confirmed in paragraph 27 that Mr. Carrim was at a shopping centre, that he was at Woolworths, that he was at, she says he then purchased a meal from Kwai, finished his meal at Kwai, and thereafter obtained flu medication. He was supervised throughout by his security detail.
And an important contrast here is that he did not buy a takeaway and go and eat in his car. He actually sat down, had a meal in Kwai, or whatever it's called.
Yes. Yes, at Kwai,
The owners will not be happy with me.
I think they'll be very happy with the free advertisement that they're getting. But so, Chair, the discrepancies are, that's the one. The second is that if you look at page 68, paragraph 28.3, I'm not going to, I can't read it out.
But is the second point you want to make the fact that this pass was not was it 4 hours, the shorter period mentioned? It was not for that, but a
much longer period of time.
Basically, I may be exaggerating if I say close to the entire day.
It was
8 hours or upwards.
It was almost 12 hours.
12.
So, as confirmed by this deponent, who says when he arrived at where she was in the morning.
I'm doing that. That is going straight to the number of hours to avoid reading. But
Okay.
I'm not even sure that that's what you wanted to read.
No, that's the second point, which is that the discrepancy in the time.
The hours were much longer
Yes,
than what was.
so it's two. It's the time of departure and then the time of return, which was about...
And the fact that they did not depart together, which is what was in the first affidavit.
The first one was the we that I'd emphasized. They did not depart together. And the second thing is that they did not consult together either with the doctor upon return. And then the final thing is that consultation took place much later at night than just after 5 o'clock. The deponent also corrects the facts on the travel on the 9th and 10th June to the northwest. And what, yes, those really are the main things that I wanted to make clear from the first deponents.
Breaking news. Bad news for Carrim as Hassim makes new demand. Something new has just happened, and this could change the direction of a very important political story. Advocate Hassim has now made a fresh demand, and all eyes are turning to Carrim to see what happens next. At first, many thought this matter was already moving toward a clear outcome, but now everything has taken another unexpected turn. The big question is simple. Why make this new demand now? That is exactly what makes this story so interesting. Sometimes in politics, one new request can completely change the conversation. It can delay decisions, it can raise fresh questions, and it can put serious pressure on the people involved. This latest move has now placed Carrim in a difficult position. Will Carrim agree? Will Carrim challenge the request? Or will this open the door to an even bigger political battle? That is what everyone is waiting to find out. Stay with me, because the next part of this story could surprise many viewers. Before we continue, if you enjoy clear political updates explained in simple English, take 1 second to like this video and subscribe. It really helps us bring you the latest developments as they happen. Now, here is where things become even more interesting. A new demand is never just about paperwork. It usually sends a message. It can mean someone wants more answers. It can mean someone believes important issues have not yet been fully addressed. Or it can simply be a strategy to slow the process while more information comes to light. Whatever the reason, this latest development has now added fresh attention to the case. Carrim will now have to decide the next step very carefully. Every decision from this point could have political consequences. And that is why many observers will be watching every statement, every response, and every new document that comes out. But here is the twist. Sometimes the biggest headline is not the demand itself. The biggest headline is how the other side reacts. If Carrim responds quickly, the story could move in one direction. If there is silence or resistance, the situation could become even more complicated. That is exactly why this story is far from over. And remember, in politics, today's small development often becomes tomorrow's biggest headline. So don't look away just yet. The next response could completely change how this entire situation is viewed. If you have been following this story from the beginning, now is the time to stay alert, because the next few days could bring even more unexpected developments. What do you think? Will Carrim accept Hassim's new demand, or will this create an even bigger political showdown? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, because this story is only getting started. As this story continues to unfold, one thing is becoming very clear. Every new development is creating more questions than answers. Advocate Hassim's latest demand has now shifted attention back to the process itself. Instead of focusing only on what has already happened, many will now be watching to see whether every step is handled fairly and openly. That is where the pressure begins. Carrim now faces an important moment. Every word, every statement, and every decision from this point could shape how the public views the entire matter. But here is something you should keep in mind. In politics and legal matters, timing is everything. A decision made today can influence what happens tomorrow. A delayed response can create new speculation. A quick response can calm the situation or even raise fresh questions. That is why this latest development is attracting so much attention. Now imagine this for a moment. If Hassim's request is accepted, what could happen next? Could more information be brought forward? Could there be further reviews? Or could this simply become another chapter in a much longer process? On the other hand, if the request is rejected, that could also lead to another round of reactions and possible challenges. So, whichever way this goes, the story is clearly not ending today. This is only another important step in what is becoming a closely watched political and legal process. And that is exactly why many people will be paying close attention over the coming days. If you're finding this update useful, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. That way, you'll be among the first to know when the next major development happens. Now, let's look at the bigger picture. Events like this often remind us that accountability, transparency, and due process remain at the center of public debate. Every action from both sides will now be examined carefully. Supporters will defend their positions, critics will ask tougher questions, and neutral observers will simply be waiting for facts to emerge before drawing conclusions. The next official response could be the moment that changes everything. Will Carrim answer immediately? Will Hassim make another move? Or is there an even bigger development waiting just around the corner? Keep your eyes on this story, because the next update could reveal far more than anyone expects. Until then, what is your opinion? Do you think Hassim's latest demand will strengthen the process, or will it make the situation even more complicated? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I read them all, and your opinion could be featured in our next discussion as this story continues to develop.